Brother, thank you so much. Swimming. Why? Why jump into the pool, man?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I was born with a cerebral palsy, specifically spastic diplegia, and with my disability, a lot of my, we'll say, land sports were just always fighting the laws of gravity in the ways that made them pretty difficult to get done and perform successfully. And there was something about being in the water for me where I always felt like it was a superpower. I felt like a superhero in a way because every little bit of limitation that I had seemed to almost completely vanish. It was you asked me to stand on one foot in gym class and I do it for 2 seconds and fall over, and you asked me to do it in the pool and I can do it for 2 days. It's one of those things where I just felt like, hey, this is the kid that I always wanted to be, and the athlete that I always saw myself as. And I just needed some help from other elements around me to kind of help learn that that was possible in a new way. So the water was always a safe haven. It was always a place I felt comfortable. And I was so lucky and am so lucky to have a support system that kind of fostered that in me when I was a young little second grader. And, now I run a swim club with the guy that helped me get to the games in '08, on a daily basis. So it's been really cool to have a cyclical moment of how great swimming has been for my life, and just not as just a professional athlete and as a Paralympian, but even just as a human and my time management and my dedication and commitment to everything that I do. It's really all driven by how I was treated myself in the water, really.
Mm. I think that's really beautiful, man, and I think it's a great point of the water being a leveler. We speak about it within the box of CrossFit all the time, right? Like
Yeah.
you can scale up or down. Workouts are going to suck for everybody. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you're squatting to a box or doing a thruster with 100 kilos. It doesn't matter. It's all going to suck, right? It's like
Yep.
it's just this leveler. It's like, all right, we're all in this pain cave together, fighting the good fight, and the water does the same thing. Like
It does.
as long as you can swim and float, lie on your back, and just breathe through a tube, you're good. Like it
Hmm.
is, everybody's on the same level. We're trying to get from one side to the other. And I had a really, really close friend of mine growing up who had CP as well, and he was a swimmer, knocking
Okay.
on the door of what was the Rio.
Nice.
Ended up going up to Sterling, did the whole thing up there, and like, mate, seeing him swim, would just run laps around me,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
unbelievably. I'm like, mate, I'm kicking like hell, trying to get some propellers going, and it's just dragging along, butterfly, you name it. So
Right.
shout out to Pete. I fucking love that guy.
That's awesome.
Wonderful human being. But it's
Yeah.
incredible, man. It really is that leveler. I think we need to look at it in through that lens or
Oh
through
sure.
those lenses. It's like, well, okay, like wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby league.
Hmm.
Everybody can sit down.
Right.
Everyone can get in the
Yeah.
pool.
No, it's amazing when you put it in that perspective, because think of it like trying to perform a heavy snatch, right? You have to be so kinetically aware of what your body's doing and how you're moving and where your benchmark bracing points and moments are, and how well are you activating as you're turning that bar overhead. And that's so much self-awareness that when you watch somebody that's so fluid and efficient in the water, like they have that so figured out. And it's
Mm.
time and it's commitment and it's, again, dedication, the things that I've preached already. Like those are what get you that, especially in the pool. Like you can see who's putting the time and the effort to find that. And granted, there's some natural ability, of course, right? But especially when you have a disability and you have to learn how to operate pretty much everything differently on a daily basis, like if you can find and hone that in the water, you're pretty well equipped to do most anything in life, because that's a pretty hard thing for a lot of people to do. And it's often underestimated how hard swimming can actually be.
For sure. Talk about virtuosity, right?
Right? Yeah.
See someone glide through the water like it's effortless. You're like, hold on a minute.
You
The everyday
know?
folk is fighting it like treacle.
Yeah. I
Swimming
know
it.
the swammer in me at this point is afraid to swim again for real, because I haven't trained rigorously anywhere near like I used to, in probably almost over a decade, and I don't think I can ever go back because I don't want to see how much it would hurt. It's such a
Dude,
different world now.
I'm the same. To take me to the pool, someone's got to drag me.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
like, I'm not looking at that black line. Like it's not happening, because I'll swim like
Nope.
50 meters and I'll be dying. It's like this
Yeah,
is not good. Like my ego will take a huge hit.
yeah,
It,
yeah.
it's one of those spots that you step away from 1 week, it takes you 2 weeks to get back.
Oh, at least.
Like,
Yeah, it's so annoying like that, right? I mean, you could take a week off your baseball game, practices, and still know how to throw a curveball, but you go and try and swim the same pace you did a week ago after being on vacation, and
Oh God.
it's a whole new game.
Sticking your head out the water halfway down a length and throwing up. You're like, what has
Right?
happened to me? It's like, yeah, good luck, man. It is so rough. And talk about threshold. Like your head's in the water, you're holding your breath.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the cardiovascular endurance of a swimmer is, second to none, honestly. I don't know very many other sports that are literally syncopating their breath with how they're moving themselves as efficiently and as fluidly as swimmers are. I ironically find myself doing a lot out in CrossFit, especially in longer chippers or in longer monostructural things like a long ski or row or even a wheelchair push. It's just like, finding that breath and finding that rhythm, and all of a sudden it feels like I'm back in the pool. That whole body and mind awareness kind of glues into each other again, and you just get into that beautiful groove. But there's no I mean, imagine doing wall balls while holding your breath. Some people might do it, and maybe that's a problem they got to fix. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I mean, that's something that would be incredibly challenging and so taxing on your body. And just to kind of put in perspective of how incredible swimming can be for you. I mean, I got into CrossFit and I was immediately excited about longer events and chippers and things that would look really just egregious on the board. Because I'm like, oh, I'm ready for that. Like my body's used to that kind of stuff. It was more of maturating myself into getting ready to sprint for a 3-minute AMRAP or a quick 15-12-9 or something, where it's just like, you got to be ready to go, and that was that fast twitch that, as more of I guess I was a sprinter, but I was more of a mid-distance swimmer that took a lot more training than it did just like do a 50-40-30-20-10 or something, or do Jerry for the first time. So it was it's a lot. It's cool, but swimming is a blessing. If you've got that in your back pocket, you're equipped for a lot of things in life.
I agree. And it's also a life skill.
Yeah.
The
100%.
whole thing, you fall in the lake or you should be able to get yourself back out.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
We're all on an island. Some just are bigger than others,
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
What was your event?
I was a 100 backstroker. So I was mostly a backstroke swimmer. That was kind of the event that got me places around the world. And then I did dabble in the 400 freestyle quite a bit. Still a successful event for me, but not quite like backstroke was. So I swam the 100 back and the 400 meter free in Beijing in 2008. And then after that, I kind of was still very focused on backstroke, but made a little bit more of a push towards shorter freestyle. So the 50 and the 100 freestyle, a little bit more IM, like the 200 IM individual medley. For those that maybe don't know what IM stands for. And then just, kind of got old and prioritized backstroke and just wanted to save it up for those moments that I was called to duty. So, backstroke is my jam.
That is also a great point. Of swimming is such an early specialization sport. You got old. It's like, if you've not made a national team by what, 14, 15, 16, you're pretty much buggered.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's very true. We've been very fortunate in our swim club here back home that we've had a lot of great athletes come through the ranks, and many of them have been fantastic in multiple events, and it's always interesting to see how they develop then after being with us and going through high school and then moving on to university and swimming for their college team. And they all of a sudden become just solely a breaststroker or solely just a butterflyer. And kind of interesting to see how they transform into that role. But there's something to be said about having all 4 strokes and being able to swim everything at a young age that really makes that versatility blossom for when it's time to specialize. I've seen a lot of kids that specialize a little too early, when they're like 10, 11, and they say, oh, I hate butterfly or I hate breaststroke, I'm just not going to do it. And then all of a sudden they get to be older and they're like, oh, that shoulda, coulda, woulda's kind of roll around, because that versatility only can help blossom what you're trying to do within that one special stroke. Because you learn how to move your body through experiment and through trial and error, and being able to move it in 4 different movement patterns, be the 4 strokes, it can only help you learn better about what's most efficient for the stroke that you feel most confident with. So
I think it goes across multiple sports, right? Like, I think we have to do different stuff, like expose your body to different stimulus. Like look at Mahomes and how he throws the
Oh,
football.
yeah.
Like he got
Right.
that from pitching, right? And then you
Yeah.
look at some rugby players and how they kick the ball. It's like, well, they got that from football or soccer, as you'll call it, right? European
Right.
football. It's like you
I hear
have
you.
to be able to like do multiple stuff rather than
Uh-huh.
you are really good within these two fine lines. And
Yeah.
I always find it quite interesting of the ones or the individuals who were never good at anything, right? They're like, my coordination shit, like
Yeah.
whatever. They couldn't kick a ball. They do really well at like powerlifting or weightlifting.
Right. Exactly.
They're really structured barbell. You need to go up and down, and
Yeah.
it's wild how we are all the same species,
Mm-hmm.
yet we can have just these little genetic predispositions to be good at X, Y, Z.
Right. But that's why I love CrossFit so much now, right? Because there's that open invitation to everybody to find a niche within it. And I think
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
something that I didn't have when I was in the Paralympic swim world. You had to have a very specific disability to be in a very specific swimming classification to swim against a specific group of people. And now within CrossFit, it's like, show up. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work. It doesn't matter if you're 400 pounds or you're missing both legs. We can make this work for you. And that's what I think has originally drew me into CrossFit, but also just kept me going, because I felt like there was always potential that you didn't realize that you had, right? There's always a way to look at a new movement or a new standard or a new weight on the barbell and say, how are we going to make this move today? How are we going to get
yeah.
this done? Right. And then seeing that then transfer into your daily life and make those elements of your life easier. You feel like you're moving around more fluidly. You get up the stairs faster. You get, where you need to be quicker. You have more energy throughout your day. Like that only feeds that fuel. And then you just keep burning potential and you just keep finding new heights and new rewards. And it's awesome. I love it.
think that's really important for beginners to be able to hear, digest, and understand, right? And especially hear
Right.
from the type of folk like yourself, like very prestigious accolades everywhere. You know what I mean? It's like not just
Yeah.
from a coach at the front at 5:30 in the morning, be like, "Don't worry about it, guys. We can scale the
Yeah.
burpee." Then you look at go fuck yourself, coach.
Yeah.
Like I understand, you've seen my face too much, but you
Nobody likes
need,
burpees. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. Nobody
of
likes
course,
burpees.
of course. But it's like there will be something that you'll kick my ass in.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
that might be the most of the time you might come in last in a workout because of the running or whatever. But there will be something that is the first time you're doing it, and you're like, "Have you ever done this before?" No.
No,
Hold on a
right.
minute. Are you sure? No, I've never done this
Yeah.
before in my life. And you'll
Hmm.
just quickly pick it up. It might be skipping. It might be as simple as a burpee. 7 minutes to burpee bar to a touch, 6-inch target.
Yep.
Someone might come in, never have done it before with 120 plus.
Right.
That's disgusting.
No, it's insane. Right.
Or someone just throws a bar. It's like there will be something. And I think that mixed modal thing that we do, that we just go, you know what, let's just simplify it and call it fitness and be like, let's be able to do everything kind of all right. And then let's try and
Yeah.
do it a little bit better every time. I think it's beautiful, man.
Yeah. And it's great. I mean, I'm clearly a sucker for routine because I swam every day and I just like to follow a black line for hours on hours. But, that's what's awesome about CrossFit too, is that every day is different. You're coming in, yeah, you might have your strength progressions of, you're working your back squat week after week and you're working your push press or something like that. But every workout you do has something different to it each time. And that just keeps your body guessing. It keeps your body trying to adjust. And that's where you grow. And that's, I think, so uniquely obvious, in an ironic kind of way. It's like, keep your body on its toes, keep your body and your muscles always trying to plan for the next thing. Throwing at the curveball just keeps you moving and keeps you growing and learning through each situation, because every stimulus you feel is going to be different than the day before. And that's so
Mm.
awesome. Even with the same workout, you go and test a benchmark 2 months after the first time, and you can push yourself faster. So all of a sudden that intensity plays with your heart rate quicker. Your heart rate's in your throat a lot faster than it was the first time, and now all of a sudden you're having to deal with that new level of stimulus. So um, there's so many reasons, I think, to believe that what we do with CrossFit is so beneficial to anybody. And I've been so blessed and fortunate to have found it as an adaptive athlete, knowing that
Yeah.
I have increased my daily life, my level of independence, my freedom of movements so greatly. And I know I'm driven a little bit more competitively, and that's just kind of how I've always been. But if you're somebody just looking to find general fitness and find a way to feel like you can function through your day better, I mean, literally, there's few options that I could think of other than swimming that might be better. So, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's huge, man. And it provides that mental challenge too, right? Like, I think
Right.
so many of us fall into this rut and this routine that we look up from our laptop and it's been 40 years. And you're like,
Hmm.
wait, hold on a minute. What have I achieved? Well, a lot of nights out that I can't remember, a little bit of
Yeah.
debt. I got a house, and that's about it. And you're like, well, is that living? And
Right.
I feel like a CrossFit class, you have to be present, right? Because there's a challenge in front of you. So it
Yeah.
forces you out of your own head, forces you out of the mundane routine. You're like, okay, fuck, what have I got to do? Oh, it's a D ball. What's that? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I gotta carry it around. All right, sweet. Then what, a kettlebell? Oh, okay, cool. Then I got a row. All right, sweet. And then you're always getting feedback, and there's you see everybody afterwards. I had a beautiful conversation after the last class last night, and it was just basically one of the members asked of it feels like there's a really big community. Why do you think that is? And I was like, well, like fitness breaks down the barrier. It's a leveler, but it
Yeah.
also drops the mask. So when people
Yeah.
talk after the conversation, because they've just been punched in the face,
Thanks. Yeah.
they no longer have the energy to lie to you. So they're gonna
Right.
actually, I'm kind of struggling with my missus or my fella at the moment. Oh, my dog died. Oh, I'm having a great time. And you
Yeah.
have those real, raw, honest conversations with one another. Boom.
Yeah.
There you go. Now you've got some real connection.
Yeah. It's a healthy reminder of how technology has changed our world, because
Yeah.
we talk through texts and we talk through DMs, and we don't see the emotion behind what words are being punched with our thumbs. And that is so important to understanding somebody is the emotion behind how they speak and how they feel about certain things. And when you come to CrossFit, your phone's away for an hour, and as a coach, you and I both understand that, like, we have to hone in on that and make that experience as incredible as it can be for 60 straight minutes. And I just absolutely love, I don't care that I get up at 4:05, 4 days a week to go coach a 5 a.m. class. Like, I live for it. I love it. I enjoy it. The community that I'm around every morning just makes me want to come back and see how they're doing and check on their daily life and feel like they're doing okay, because I know how important that hour of the day is to them and to how we interact throughout the rest of our day. Because just having that time to communicate and suffer with other people and empathize in ways that a lot of other things can't do that fitness can, just really helps you build that community. That is something that we all need as a support system at some point, right? So the better you can fortify it by making yourself present and enjoying the company and motivating them through the suffering, like, it only just impacts how your relationship can grow together too. So
Mm.
yeah.
I was told something this week of standards are important because they make people feel seen.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And, it encapsulates what we do, right? We have to see people. We have to assess their energy levels. We need to look them in the eye. We need to be like, oh, maybe I don't push them today, and they need a bit of a hug and a hang around the
Right.
shoulder. Or you look at someone like, you need knocking down a peg or two. I'm just gonna be the I'm gonna be the
Yeah.
drill
Yeah.
sergeant, and you have to see each other. And I kind of caveat off that mentally and be like, how often do we look people in the eye anymore?
Hmm. I mean, when's the last time you wondered about something? Right? We just Google it. We ask
Google
Siri
it,
about
yeah.
it. Right? That's such a lost trade when it's like you have to sit there and let the file cabinet in the back of your mind kind of come forward and just, well, I remember this about this, and if I think about that, it maybe remind me of this one experience. And now it's just, hey Siri, hey Google, hey Alexa, like, what is so and so? And it's just that that instant gratification has been
Mm,
so rooted in us and in our futures that it just makes me appreciate CrossFit that much more, because it is so authentically
mm,
community driven, and it's so personable, and it's something that helps, like you said, break down barriers by setting standards so that we can see how people are doing. And you get a chance to really understand what you're capable of, um, as a human, as a classmate, as a friend, as a mother, father, daughter, son, whatever it may be. It's pretty remarkable.
And as a collection of people, right?
Yeah.
Like we think we can be the lone wolf forever,
Yeah.
and we can be Sisyphus pushing that boulder up the bloody hill and be happy about doing it forever.
Yeah.
You're like,
Right.
okay, mate, sure. One day that's gonna go toppling back and it's gonna end up crushing you. And then
Yeah.
being around those folks, I mean, pulled out of yourself and having to express yourself physically, lifting these things, doing this thing, running around with all these other folks. And then you talk to them, you're like, actually, I can do so much more when
Mhm.
there's other people around.
Right. And I'll tell you, that's one thing I think, and why I would totally promote any adaptive athlete to go to a CrossFit gym, is because we are probably, especially if you're somebody in my situation, I was born with cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
So I haven't known any different, right? This has always been my life. I am incredibly stubborn. I suck at asking for help because I feel so inclined to want to prove that I can do it and that my wheelchair isn't going to slow me down and that my disability isn't a hindrance to anybody else. Right. And yet when I go to my gym and I go and coach or I go and work out with our classes, I'm always like, I would ask any of them in a heartbeat to help me out if I needed it, because I feel safe and I feel comfortable around them. And I feel like they're people that understand why I'm there and what I'm trying to achieve. Um, and you're not going to get a lot of that in public, right? You might get a
Yeah.
little bit of it at work, but work friends are usually just kind of small acquaintances that maybe you'll go to a bar after a night of work, once or twice a week. But you see your CrossFit family in a vulnerable state where everyone's kind of suffering together, and that allows you to be yourself because no one brings their ego there, right?
Yeah.
And um, I've learned a lot through my community about how important it is to be supported by them, but also support them at the same time. And that's helped me a lot to learn how to say, "Hey, I need some help," or stop saying yes to doing everything because I'm only one person. I can only handle so much, and um, you know, people joke by saying teamwork makes the dream work, but I mean it's cliche and as corny as it sounds, like it's so true. That's really really find that instead of traveling alone, you'll go fast, right? But traveling together, you'll go far. Like that's very true.
We want to go far, right? 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait until it's just the normal thing for anybody and everybody to be able to walk through the shutter doors of a CrossFit gym. You know,
Yeah,
it could be someone who's short-sighted, it could be completely deaf, it could be anything like one working limb, or it could be a actual pro athlete currently,
right.
or fucking a homeless person walks in. You're like, great, man. How do we help?
Yeah,
This is supposed to be a community hub. It's supposed to be HQ. It's supposed to be a kind of a meeting point.
right.
You know, fire alarm goes off. Everybody goes to the meeting point. This is the meeting point. Okay, cool. Now let's go figure out this thing called life. How do we do this thing?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the gym needs to be successful to then go help it. So if you got a gym, fucking sort out the business. But you know, it really is a beautiful thing, man. It really, really is. I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's harder to walk through a CrossFit gym door though, because you will be seen. If you go into a commercial gym, you just become a number, a one of many.
Yeah.
You go into like the sea of people. If you're walking into a CrossFit gym, you're walking into a powerlifting gym, weightlifting gym, strongman gym, a more of a boutique, quote unquote, even like
Right.
Zumba or spin class or something, there's going to be less people in there, right? You will
Mhm.
be seen. I know it's
Yeah.
harder. I know it's difficult.
Oh yeah. And I think a lot of people have a misconception about CrossFit before they start it, right?
Yeah.
They see the failed videos on YouTube and they see,
Right.
people challenging if they're real pull-ups and they're doing butterfly pull-ups and it's just ignorance in the sense that like, I mean, again, what can you really trust on the internet these days? So it's like just go experience it for yourself. Like if it's something that's interesting to you, you should go try it out. Like don't be construed by what media is wanting you to believe about it. And
Yeah.
that's definitely plays a factor. I can remember the first time I did a CrossFit workout and went to a CrossFit gym. It was the same thing. I remember I think I saw Chris Spieler do 100 unbroken pull-ups, butterfly pull-ups in a row. I saw that video, and I remember somebody like bashing the heck out of them and just, none of those were real, none of those were real reps. And I kind of like, yeah, they're totally right. What was that? That's not how you do pull-ups. And now it's just like, I can't live without CrossFit. I went in and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go try it and see what it is. And when you put yourself in a good community where coaches are technique driven and they're making sure that you have foundational movements figured out before you start trying anything crazy heavy, and they always put technique and posture before strength, that's when you're going to really find that CrossFit is successful. It's the people that just go willy-nilly like, oh, I'm going to buy everything from Rogue and start a gym in my garage and just go figure it out. Like, I'll learn how to clean on my own. Like, I saw Matt Frazier at the games. Like, if he can do it, I can do it too. That's where you get run into trouble. So, yeah, I would just, anybody out there listening right now, you've never done CrossFit before, don't buy into the social media hype of it's bad for you, it's hard, it's going to make you look bulky. It's not. It's going to give you health and strength in a way that you haven't experienced. But almost so intoxicating, right? Something that we all can enjoy because you feel the potential growing within you when you go to a CrossFit gym. And I can remember that too. I thought, going into a CrossFit gym after swimming for 15 years, that would be a piece of cake. I'm in shape. This is awesome. I literally threw up 400 meters into my first time onto a rower. I was like, what just happened? What is this? I am the weakest person. I feel so vulnerable. And like you said, seen, like,
Yeah.
and it's just after a few months though, like all of a sudden I was eating different because I wanted to, and I was motivated to eat differently, and I was going to bed early. I wasn't drinking as much alcohol anymore. And all of a sudden I felt healthy. I felt the health grow within me to the point where it's like, I feel unstoppable, and I mean, that's exciting, right? That feels like you can do anything in the world, and it just opens your opportunities to feel great and, go about your day with positivity and excitement towards what could be. And I never found that in the pool in the same way. I haven't found that necessarily in work the same way. But I find it every day I go into the CrossFit gym, and I love that.
It's so poetic, it really is. And people find that outside of CrossFit.
Oh, sure.
And fuck, do your thing, man. It goes back to one of those things. It's like, how am I supposed to know? I've never done it. How am I supposed to know what Uzbekistan is like? I've never been.
Yeah.
So it's like, give it a bash. If you don't like it, guess what? You don't have to do
it. You have full control of your life. If you want to go have the experience, then go have the experience. And all you can do is learn from it. That's the best part.
Give it a try, yeah.
Experience to it. So take it, study it, learn from it, and then move on to the next one.
For sure. Brother, I got 3 questions.
Let's do it.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Hustle while you wait. I think one of the biggest things that I found was that, especially in my swimming career from a young age, I qualified for Beijing when I was 17 years old. I was going into my senior year of high school, or grade 12, and so I was still young. I didn't know anything. I didn't know I wanted to major in college and study in college. So there's a lot of me that was just panicking, right? And not sure what my life was going to look like. And still to this day, I don't know. Every month I'm like, where are we going to be here? What's going to be next? And if you just keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, it is not that hard to be nice to people. It is not that hard to wake up and put in a good effort. It's harder than some days than others, right? But if you keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you just trust that what you're doing is what's meant for you, then when it's time, the right things will show themselves. And I can tell you that when I started CrossFit in 2016, 2017, I never would have thought that I'd be in the position I am now. Not a chance, but I knew that when I started CrossFit and how much I loved it, that this is something that I needed in my life, right? And that I knew it was going to be something that was going to allow me to feel like I was expressing the person that I've always have felt like inside. To think that this past summer I was on ESPN as a broadcaster commentating with Emma Lawson and Ariel Lewin and Annie Thorstadter, it's I feel like every boy's dream growing up to be on ESPN, and here I am holding the mic. Nothing I ever would have thought would have been possible, right? And, now I'm traveling the world to help teach Adaptive Training Academy seminars, and all things that it was just keep showing up, keep putting in the hard work, keep doing what you got to do, and it'll work out. And it totally has. So hustle while you wait.
You gotta follow it to the end. You
Absolutely.
gotta see where the roadblock is, and then you have to see if there's a path around it, under it, through it, over it. Sometimes
Yeah.
it is a complete dead end, and we need to change. We need to change where we're going. No problem, but
Yeah.
you have to follow it to the end. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh man. Um, probably to stop walking. I mean, I had so many medical professionals growing up that, with how my CP has affected me with, its physical implications as well. My gait is very swinging. I don't have a heel toe gait and use a lot of my lower back to get around. Um, and my doctors were always worried, especially in middle school and high school, that my knees were going to give out on me by walking too much or getting around too much on my feet. And movement is medicine. The more I moved, the more I felt like I was capable of doing things, and I felt like I was achieving more. And I got better as I moved more. Right, I was able to do more by going up more flights of stairs and carrying things more often with two hands. And I just, it didn't relate to CrossFit, but it related a lot like what I wanted to achieve in life. I have three older siblings who all played every sport under the sun. So it was kind of embodied within me to want to be active and want to move around and do all those things too. So, when people are telling me I can't or I shouldn't, like it's like you gave a bull a red flag. Like that's the worst thing you could have done for me, because I'm going to do the exact opposite and prove to you how wrong you were. So, yeah, movement is medicine. That it's, there's no reason you can't do what you need to be doing. It's just a matter of going at it from the right perspective, right? And taking the appropriate measures to do it safely and effectively, rather than trying to bite off the whole, New Year's resolution at once. Don't just quit smoking on January 1st and say it's going to be easy peasy. Like that's too big of a goal, right? Make steps and hustle while you wait, because it'll pay off when it's supposed to.
100%.
Yeah.
How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Right? Exactly.
Just got to keep on walking, son.
Yep.
What's the 3 words you tell your younger self?
That's a great question. Man, you got me there, man. I'm trying to think. Well, plus, I'm trying to think of phrases that are 3 words. um, Probably don't ever stop. There's so many times. I grew up in a small town. I'm from a 12,000 person city. It's small. It's quaint. I was the only kid in a wheelchair growing up. Um, it looked different. I had to do everything different. I had to go to physical therapy in the middle of school, and get pulled out of class to go do it. It was all different. And while everybody understood it, it still played with me mentally. I never was sure if I fit in the way that I was supposed to, and that, I was going to have success in the life in the way that I wanted to, that I saw my friends having, or were able to, conjure up a lot easier than I could. Um, and as I've just continued to push myself and continued to set the bar for high expectations of myself, as exhausting and draining as I can be, it's been far more positive than a negative. And um, I have found that I'm in a position right now where I am literally making a living off of my passions, and I'm enjoying every day of my life, knowing that I get to wake up and do things that I love, and that's fantastic. And that's because I never quit, and I had hurdles and I've had adversities, and we all have, but like I just had to keep pushing up the hill. I just had to keep pushing forward and just keep going, because while it never has really shown itself fully, and maybe it's starting to now as I'm getting, I'm 32, almost 33, and life's kind of solidifying in certain realms. Like, it's you're just never really going to know until you feel it in your bones, right? But if you stop and never give yourself the chance, then that's when you're really missing out. So, um, yeah, if I look back now and told myself, when I was 10 that I'd be where I am now, I'd laugh in my face and be like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, no chance. So yeah, it's pretty humbling to even have that perspective right now and think back on that. And yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, brother. Mate,
Yeah,
this
man.
has been an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much, man.
Likewise, Alex. Thanks a lot, bud.
Mate, we're gonna have to get some workout in sometime when I make it up to the
Totally.
Great White North.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't mind coming to New Zealand though. That sounds like a pretty good trip
Mate,
myself.
get over.
All
You got
right.
a place to stay.
Love it, dude.
Man. All right, we'll speak soon.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Alex.
Legend. Thanks, man. Bye,
Take it
everybody.
easy.